Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Toledo. Today we have another great meeting for you with our speaker, Lori Dixon. I'd like to open our meeting with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Sydney Prohashka, please come to the podium to deliver an invocation. Kathy Tate will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance immediately following the invocation.
Good morning. I'd like to start with some wise words from the anthropologist Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. At Rotary, that's what we're doing here today. We are joining together as thoughtful, committed citizens who are eradicating polio, fighting for clean water, and building metro parks that generations will enjoy for long after we're gone. In this difficult season, when opinions are regarded as facts and people, not policies, are attacked, let us join together in fellowship and forge relationships built on respect and centered on a shared commitment to serve our community and to change the world.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sydney and Kathy. As we begin our meeting, I would like to recognize this month's sponsor, Spangler Nathanson. Thank you. Does anyone have any guests today that, if you'll please go to the floor mic, have your guests join you as you introduce them?
President Stacy, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Andrew Hsu, who is the new Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at the University of Toledo. Dr. Hsu joined UT as the new Provost in July. Prior to coming to the University of Toledo, Dr. Hsu was the Dean of the College of Engineering at San Jose State University, as well as an Associate VP and Dean at Wright State in Dayton. His PhD is in Aerospace Engineering from Georgia Tech. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Hsu to Toledo.
President Stacy, I have with me today Jay Morgan, who's a prospect for the club. Jay's the Chief Financial Officer at Miller Diversified.
Welcome.
President Stacy, I'm pleased to introduce Sean Finn, Vice President of Business Banking with Citizens National Bank, and a prospect for us and an applicant.
Welcome. Thank you all for attending, and I really hope you enjoyed today's meeting. So, a quick update. I know I briefly did last week on polio. For our End Polio Now, we still are at 0 cases year to date, and last year we had 37 total cases. If you want to know what the EVD, PV, and all that other thing means, see our expert Tim Ryan after the meeting. He's happy to answer any of those that they are. But the most important is that number 0 remains up there all year. I want to thank everyone for completing the online weekly evaluations. This is important to us for feedback to our program committee chair. Where's Troy Greeley at? I know he's here somewhere. This really helps us as we take your responses seriously and helping us look at our programs for the future for our club. If you're not receiving the emails that come out Monday immediately following our meetings, please reach out to the office and they'll be happy to fix that situation. At this time, it is my honor to bring up John Romer to the podium. Am I inviting Tommy up too? Are you coming up now, Tommy?
Stay right here.
You're staying there? All right, well, that's a good spot for you. John Romer.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Just want to take a few minutes of your time to provide another update of our annual fund campaign. So as you recall, the last time I was at the podium, I spoke of 2 great opportunities that we have this year. One of which, again, is a new dollars match for new dollars donated to the annual fund with a minimum donation of $50 and a maximum match of $1,000. The other opportunity that we have is a participation-related goal. So again, thanks to Mark Makalinsky's generosity, if we get 75% of our members to donate to the annual fund, Mark will donate $10,000 to the foundation. Mark will donate $20,000 if we get to 85%. And if we can get to 95% of our Rotarians donating to the annual fund, Mark will donate $30,000 to the foundation. With that, we also said that for all donors that we had as of 12/31, we would raffle off a gift basket. As you came in today, you may have noticed some gift baskets at the table where Emily is normally seated. And thanks to the generosity of our donors, we are actually going to raffle off 3 more gift baskets today. So the first gift basket we've already pulled a name for, and Amiro Gohara is the winner of the first gift basket. And for those of you that do win, you can see Emily at the end of the day, and she can give you your gift basket. So for the second one, which is 4 walleye vouchers and a gift certificate to the Dorr Street Cafe, the winner is Bob Reichert. Little karma there. Bob was one of the donors. For the third gift, the second drawing here today, it's a $50 gift basket that was put together by Walt Churchill's and Churchill's. Patrick Sheehan. And the last gift basket is from Georgette's, and this is for John Boggs. The deadline for donations is March 31st, so we've got 2 more months, obviously, to really have an opportunity here to make a difference. So again, for those of you that have contributed, thank you. For those that are still looking to, we appreciate the consideration. Special thanks to Frank Viviano, Bob Reichert, Janny Miller, Walt Churchill, Yuval Zaliuk, and Mary Mancini to help with the gift baskets. Thank you.
And folks, this is a really important initiative for us if we are going to continue to increase our foundation. Currently, as of year to date, from July 1 to date, we are at only 46% of our members giving to our foundation. We have a long way to go in 2 months to hit that 75% mark. It's not on a minimum amount, it's any denomination. So please, urge your other members, if you see them, to please consider our foundation, because to not at least hit the 10,000, I think would be not something we would want to inform Mark when he's put this great challenge in front of us. So please, and let's shock Mark, and let's hit that 95%. That would be a fantastic ending of this March Matchness. We do have an event planned in March that hopefully we'll get some more of you to donate and to extend on. But please, we got a long way to go, and we'll continue to update where we're at on the percentages. Thank you, John and Tommy. And at this time, I'd like to invite Rachel Hobson to the podium for a Vocational Services Committee announcement. Rachel?
Thank you, President Stacy. Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm here to announce again about the Vocational Services Committee is holding the Interact interviews this Rotary year. We have 4 events this year. We have, hopefully we can put the slide up with the 4 events we have this year. All of the information that I'm showing you here is in the spoke. So these are the 4 events that we have to tell you a little bit about the agenda of what this project looks like. If we could have the next slide. Okay, so if you volunteer for any of these 4 events, or more than one, you would arrive at 10:15. We welcome the students and match up a Rotarian with a student from each of those groups at 10:30. You go to a designated room, which will be down here. You would spend 10:45 to 11:45 one-on-one time with these students. From 11:45, then you would wrap up. You take that student, host the student here at lunch, so they have the opportunity to be here, experience our group, network, get to know people. And then at 1 p.m. you wrap up, you bring them back to their teacher, thank them for coming, and it's that simple. I want to touch on the 1 hour sit-down time with these students. It's 1 hour, and it's very high impact. Some of these students may not have very many other opportunities, specifically in high school, to sit down with community leaders who are in the same community as they are. Let's see, last Thursday, Gary Johnson and I went to Waite High School to meet with the Young Men of Excellence and the Young Women of Excellence. And when asked what they knew about Rotary, and specifically this club, they said it's a bunch of high society, white, rich people. So here's the opportunity, is that we have the opportunity in that hour to bridge a gap that is realistically there. It creates a hands-on time to see that these opportunities are just as much for them as they are for any of us. And I said to them, it's an interesting description, but what I want you to know is that part of why I love this club so much is because this is a group of people who understand that we have as much to learn from you as you do from us. And I do care about that aspect of, I know that people in this room care about that. So please consider volunteering, and please consider how high impact that time can be for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. At this time, Katie Rothkar, if you will please come to the podium for an introduction of new member, Arshad Bannister.
Thank you. Last year, when we were going through and trying to recruit new people to come into the club, I had a long list. We sat there through a great draft night, and one person I couldn't get to commit due to his other commitments in the community was Arshad. And I'm very excited that he finally decided that he could make the commitment due to his other time commitments, as he is very active within the community as well. I'm very excited to bring him in, especially because he's a fellow Panther. We went to high school together. And as we grew apart and grew and changed, I would see him around at different epic events and different events in the city. And I knew that he was one person that would fit in here and really do well. And I just want to make sure that he understands that this is a place that can help you grow and change. So I'm very excited to bring him in here. As I mentioned, we went to school together. He also went on to play football at BGSU. Little known fact, he's probably the only person you might meet and talk to locally that has played for Urban Meyer when he was in college. He also spends his time with his wife, Jenna, as well as his 4 kids. He has 3 boys and 1 daughter, as well as coaching varsity football for Whitmer High School. So it's very exciting to have him. And in addition to that, he stayed very active, and he is a partner at Transamerica, and he is passionate about helping others build knowledge and wealth. And they have 3 offices in the area, so he's keeping himself very busy with that as well. So fellow Rotarians and President Stacy, please help me welcome Arshad Bannister.
And at this time, I'd like to invite our fellow Rotarian, Kevin Miller, to the podium to introduce your speaker for today. Kevin?
Was Superintendent of Ottawa Hills Schools, it's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker because Dr. Lori Dixon is born and raised in Toledo, but actually a native to Ottawa Hills, being a graduate of Ottawa Hills High School. She holds a Master of Business Administration from the University of Toledo and a doctorate from Kent State University. Dr. Dixon joined Great Lakes Marketing in 1978, and she was just sharing with me that was her senior year in high school. At the end of her school day, she would go in and work at Great Lakes Marketing. She became co-owner in 1985 and then sole owner in 2010. Great Lakes Marketing is a full-service marketing research and consulting company headquartered right here in Toledo. Dr. Dixon and her staff of about 40 research professionals help their clients incorporate the voice of the customer into business planning, messaging, and new product development. I can attest to the quality work of Dr. Dixon and her team. Most recently, she's been working with Ottawa Hills Schools on gathering village input regarding improvement to our facilities. Great Lakes Marketing serves global businesses such as Procter & Gamble and General Motors, and public agencies such as the U.S. Postal Service and Bureau of Land Management. Fellow Rotarians and guests, Dr. Lori Dixon.
All right, I got a little stool to help me out here. And I apologize, I have a cold too. So of all days, and I was really looking forward to sounding like a big girl, I sound like I have a cold. Anyway, thank you very much for having me. It's quite humbling to have the honor of speaking to such an accomplished group of community leaders. And I love the fact that I look out and I see so many familiar faces. So, to put my remarks in context, let me quickly explain what I do. I listen to customers. Targeted customers, folks who are influential in decision-making, and people like that. And then I help interpret what I learned so businesses and organizations can make informed strategic decisions. I just realized that to inform you, I'm going to need my clicker. My little button here to make me go. So in any particular week, I could listen to how moms decide where to take their children on vacation, or how the nation's largest e-retailers decide which shipping companies to use, or I could speak to members of a class action suit to decide if they want to participate. It may sound like my business is lacking just a little bit of focus, but really there is a theme. Companies that listen to their customers do better. They win in the marketplace. So I hope that in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I can create a disruption in how you think about marketing strategies. So my story does start in Toledo. Great Lakes started as a very small research company, and it was just a field operation. Then in 1964, two visionaries were talking, and they purchased this small research company and created Great Lakes Marketing, which is a full-service company. A few years after that, these men were probably sitting at a meeting similar to this, and they were chatting, and they learned that Owens, Illinois, which creates packaging for the pharmaceutical industry, would need to create child-resistant caps for those packages, and testing would be needed. So after many conversations between Owens, Illinois, and Great Lakes Marketing, another division was formed, and that is our child-resistant package testing division. So if you fast forward to today, we test thousands of children and senior adults throughout the Toledo area, and we're able to do this because our partners, the schools and the senior centers and shopping centers, they all partner with us because they believe in our mission that you have to test the packages with kids and let seniors try and open them to make sure that they really are effective. And then our full service side of the business works very well because I'm able to hire some fantastic talent from the local universities. And our field service does very well because here we are located in Toledo, Ohio, and that's where my story continues. So, my actual story today is about storytelling from the consumer's perspective. This story is going to be broken down into 3 chapters. First of all, why Toledo? You've probably heard that phrase, if it plays in Peoria. Well, that phrase originated back when the vaudeville era, and Groucho Marx would go on his tours and he'd stop in Peoria, and they always said if it was successful in Peoria, it would do well across the United States because Peoria was this mainstay kind of Midwestern town. Well, today, I say, if it tests well in Toledo. So according to a Taco Bell spokesperson, Toledo is a great representation of the nation as a whole and accurately reflects large markets around the country. They're saying what I've known for years. Our demographic profile matches the U.S. as a whole on typical demographic variables such as age, income, education, etc. But just as importantly, Toledo is home to sub-segments that are often very important in any kind of test marketing. We have college grads, we have the college influence, we have a very diverse workforce, we have traditional workers, we have white-collar workers, we have very accomplished companies, we have religious diversity, we have ethnic diversity. So it allows somebody to test messages to make sure they're universally correct in their context. Our community has access to great cultural jewels. Toledoans get exposure to the newest franchises and the newest retailers in the community so that our research respondents are aware of the competition that other communities have. And we have the infrastructure to do research, and it's a cost-effective market to do research. So, chapter 2 of my story, I also want to touch on why testing and research is conducted. I want to get you thinking about how comfortable you are with your knowledge of your marketplace. And finally, chapter 3, I want to share my perspective of why listening to the customer is even more important today than it was yesterday. So this is not a Verizon coverage map. Like you want me to say, can you hear me now? That's not what this is. This is actually a very high-level visual of the 2016 Electoral College. I don't really care anything about this other than that main pattern that you see is that those living in those larger cities, the truly urban areas, think very differently than those living in suburbia. I am a numbers person, but I don't want to get into too many numbers right now, but I do want to share an insight. Nationally, about 26% of Americans describe where they live as urban. The majority, 53%, say they live in suburbia, and a small percentage, 21%, say they live in rural America. However, the census estimates that 81% of the population is urban, because urban is defined as not rural. So there you go. Anyway, so not only does research in Toledo allow for access to urban, rural, and suburbia, it's a relatively controlled media market, so your messaging really does reach your target geographical area. Plus, the community is willing to participate in research, so it allows us to have a structure in place. So Toledo's probably not techie like San Francisco. We are not the most ethnically diverse like Houston. But Toledo reminds me of the phrase in the movie Pretty Woman when Julia Roberts' character says to Bernard Thompson, the head guy at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, "Come on, Barney, we live in the real world." Well, Toledo, we're the real world. So, let's move on to Chapter 2 of my story. Chapter 2 is entitled, Why Are We Testing? I want you to do this for me. Think of a real innovation, not a product extension like more stuff in an Oreo double stuff or more twist on caffeine diet-free cherry Coke. Think of a new innovation. I bet whatever you're thinking about was born out of an understanding of the root cause of frustration with the current product. So in developed society like ours, we're well beyond this necessity is the mother of invention. Today, we want frustration reduction. So let's talk about the birth of Uber for a second. Think in your mind, I want you to kind of close your eyes and visualize this. Think in your mind everything that's frustrating using a traditional taxi service. First, you have to order it or ask somebody to order it. Then you're wondering, are they really going to come? And when they're not there right away, you're thinking, oh my God, they're on a different corner than the one I'm standing at. Then you don't even know what kind of car you're getting into or what the interior looks or smells like. You tell your driver where you want to go by address, and you're just hoping he knows the way to get there. You trust that he'll take the shortest, fastest route. You fret over the meter, She's just tick, 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 ticking, and you wonder how much are you going to have to pay at the end of this. Then you begin the process of paying. You get out your cash, you get out your credit card. You've got to figure out a tip. Heaven forbid if you leave something in the taxi, he's gone. Along comes Uber. Now the music is playing much more calmly. Along comes Uber. And every one of these frustrations is reduced. So my suggestion to you, think about the interaction between your product and your customer. What creates frustration? If you don't know, ask them. Or ask maybe your frontline staff. Don't ask, what can we do better for you? Really, that's your job. You need to know operationally what you can do better. You need to know what training you can do better to optimize. You need to ask your customer, what frustrates you, Mr. Customer? And let their response guide your thinking. Typical causes of frustration that kind of fall in three buckets. One is the separation between the customer and somebody who can solve problems. Ask yourself, are you asking your customers to interface with somebody who is not empowered to help them immediately? Point two, lack of trust. The customer is always wondering if you are trustworthy. They're saying, I wonder if I should believe their promise. You need to ask yourself if you have done anything to erode trust. Or think about how you interact with your customer to make sure you have systems in place that build trust. Third is difficult transactions. I get frustrated when it's not easy to buy your product or service. Ask yourself, what hoops are you making your customer jump through just to use you? What barriers have you created? In essence, what makes your customer want to ball up their little fist and pound on the desktop? You have to say, what decisions have you made that make your life easier, but maybe not have optimized the customer experience? Now, flipping to the next. Reasons to believe. Many people conduct market research because they really need to understand the reasons to believe. Consumers today want tangible reasons. Tangible doesn't necessarily mean something you hold in your hand. Today, more likely, it's probably something you hold in your heart. Think about this. Why do kids believe in Santa Claus? It's kind of silly, isn't it? Ho, 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 down the chimney, big bag of toys. It's kind of silly. But they believe year after year. Why? There's bites taken out of the cookie, the milk's gone, and there are presents. Every year, presents, and the kind of presents mom and dad don't buy, the kind of presents Santa brings. Those are reasons to believe year after year. So here's some examples. Delivery companies today, they say you'll get it tomorrow. They give you reasons to believe from the beginning. That initial scan that you get, all the way through to the very end, you're watching it. Conversely, the repair shop says, your car is going to be ready Thursday. I'll have an estimate to you Wednesday. Clock is ticking, tick, tick, tick. Wednesday's fleeting. You haven't heard anything. You have no reason to believe they're going to come through for you. So my question is to make sure, what have you done to give your customer reasons to believe? And what have you done maybe to make it harder for them to believe? Now, sometimes it's hard for a professional service company to give those reasons to believe, but think about for an attorney, for example. Her resume might have a lot of very relevant experience. That would be a reason to believe. For a realtor, it might be a list of all the homes they have sold or how quickly they have sold, so a proven record. Uber does this really well because from the minute you contact them, they are in direct communication. They give you total control over the experience. Amazon does the same thing. You buy it, they tell you you bought it, they tell you how much you spent on it, they tell you who you bought it from, they tell you when it's coming, they tell you when it's going to come. The whole time, they're in communication with you. So you have complete faith and reasons to believe, even though at first you're thinking, seriously, dude, I order it on Monday, I'm going to get it Wednesday, and you're out in California, and I'm in Ohio? Really? For free shipping? Really? But it happens. So for my company, we are a professional service company. We decided our reason to believe was to have outside affirmation, so we sought accreditation. And for us, then our reason to believe is that we do it the right way every day because we have this accreditation and we go through the process every year. So today, the moral of the story is your word probably isn't good enough. Consumers want tangible evidence that you will perform. They want gifts under the tree every time. But let's make it even more difficult. Reasons to believe are provided by you. That's not good enough anymore. Reason number 3 to engage in product testing is the growing and incredible power of word of mouth and referrals through informal communication channels. Word of mouth is so powerful, it outweighs all paid advertising in most circumstances. I do a lot of research within selected professional industries and with different very large companies. And people are selecting very important professionals. And I am amazed at how these really educated are selecting really important providers through word of mouth rather than any of the traditional sources that you are to typically marketing to and trying to get them to understand your product. It reminds me of that line in Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they're learning if Ferris Bueller is really sick. Oh, he's sick. My best friend's sister's boyfriend's brother's girlfriend heard it from this guy who knows this kid who's going with this girl who saw him pass out at 31 Flavors. Obviously, it must be true. Word of mouth is a marketer's nightmare. Most important reason is it's uncontrollable. For the most part, you don't know what somebody's putting on Facebook. You don't know what they're about to tweet. So ask yourself, what have you done to promote positive word of mouth? Now, the final chapter of why to do research. I want to share with you 4 quick trends that reinforce the value of knowing your marketplace. First, data and information have an expiration date. The information you collected last year, and in some industries, even last quarter, is old. You absolutely have my permission to you have my permission and encouragement to slap anybody who says, we already tested that last year and it doesn't work. Last year, the competition was different. Last year, your customer may not have been anywhere near as comfortable with technology as they are today. The pace of change requires you to thoroughly understand the data, the insights, your strategies have an expiration date. Here's a quick example from the finance industry. Some of you may now be using Venmo or Google Wallet or something. There are so many ways to send cash through an app that they actually have an app to rate the apps. And there are already 12 different ways to send money without ever touching money. So I gave this guest lecture to a college class last week, and I asked the students, what new things are you doing now that you haven't done before? So these are the folks on the cutting edge, so you think that they're doing it all right away. Zip cars, sharing bikes, curbside delivery of groceries, Blue Apron food deliveries, renting college books, were a few of the things they came up with. So ask yourself this. What service have you used, or what transaction method have you used, or what new product have you purchased for the first time in the past few months? Many you maybe have tried before, but not so successfully. You weren't so good with the app. Maybe now you're more comfortable with technology. Maybe you're not an early adapter, and you wanted to make sure that other people were using it so they could teach you how to use it. Really doesn't matter your motivation. The key is that I bet you're doing things differently. And when society reaches that magic tipping point, when it's the majority, it's not really novel anymore, it's going to be hugely disruptive to your market. So get ready. Restaurants, specialty food stores, get ready for Blue Aprons of the world. Bookstores, you better figure out how to change your financial and your distribution model if it's going to be renting. In rental car industries, I don't know, I would just say hold on tight. But your job is to figure out how your industry will be Uberized and be ready for it. At my staff meetings, I always say, okay, staff, how are we going to get Uberized? Because it's coming. but I don't want to be blindsided by it. A change for me, this presentation that I'm showing is all pictures, except for 3 bulleted points. Last week, this presentation would have been words, flying, animation, bullet points, you name it. It would have been all of that. But I finally listened very carefully to my friends at the Art Museum who said visual literacy. Know it. So I'm making my points with pictures. So even I am still learning. This leads to another question to ask yourself. What systems do you have in place to watch the trends in your industry and in other industries? So I was just at this conference last week. It was a marketing research, new trends kind of thing. Their main theme was that the disruption to your industry that's going to cause you the most pain and will sneak up on you are those that are not in your industry. Those strategists that I felt were the most enlightened kept going back to this fundamental question of what causes frustration? Little balled up fist. What causes that frustration? Not what solutions are your competitors coming up with. They were saying what solutions exist from all industries. So why do market research? Point 2 is the expectation that the most devastating blow will probably come from outside the known suspects. So research needs to be focused on understanding the customer journey and the pain points along the journey. Why test now? Here's the reason. Hope is not a strategy. Customers don't hope that things will go well. They demand things go well. Therefore, you cannot hope that you understand how a customer defines going well. Furthermore, today's customer is not satisfied with being satisfied. They want success. Some companies have already caught on to this concept of consumers wanting more and more. A great example, I love the campaign, H&R Block, with John Hamm, the guy from Mad Men. It's a great campaign. Have any of you guys seen those commercials? Yeah, great. What does he say? Get your taxes won. This campaign goes directly to the heart of what people care about, getting the most money, getting the best filing experience. Maybe yesterday it was okay just to get the paperwork filed or to get it quickly. But today, technology is table stakes, speed is expected. The consumer wants the maximum return and the maximum experience. The consumer wants victory. So my challenge to you is thinking beyond customer satisfaction and what makes your customer a success. That is essential. What have you done to make your customer more successful? And this leads me to my final point, why research is so important. I strongly believe that success, that victory, is defined by the customer when they have control over the environment and their own experience. You cannot segment customers the way we used to do it when I was teaching marketing many, many moons ago at the university. We had like these 6 buckets, the soccer moms and the sedan women, blah, blah, blah. We had these 6 buckets, and everybody had to fall into a bucket. Today, there are no buckets. Everybody wants to be treated like an individual. I don't want to do what you want me to do. I want to do it my way. I know this firsthand because when we test seniors with our packages in our 1 division, they're ages 50 to 70. Some of these 66-year-old females have just left the tennis court and they're rushing back to their offices. Others have a retired husband at home, totally different lifestyle. So think about how your products allow you to make your customer control the experience and control the environment. Give your customer journey through Netflix. It's when I want. It's how I want. I could get 6 in a row and binge on a Saturday. I could get 1 every night so I can watch during dinner. And it's where I want. I want it on my treadmill. You might want it at your dinner table. Somebody else may want to curl up in bed with a movie. We are in complete control, and that's why that's successful. The customer is saying, it's all about me. Do not ask me to adapt to how you want to offer it. I am the customer and I am in charge. So ask yourself, have you genericized the experience? Have you taken control away from your customers? And finally, what marketing story would be complete without a reference to building a better mousetrap? But today, it's not building a better mousetrap. Today, what might be needed is a meaner cat. So, any comments? I would be more than happy to take any comments or questions.
Do we have any questions for Lori? So if you'll go to the floor mic. Well, that's unusual. Okay, no questions. Thank you, Lori, for today's program on Great Lakes marketing. To show our appreciation, the Toledo Rotary Club Foundation will make a donation to Rotary International's Polio Plus Fund in your name. Thank you. Please join us next Monday, February 6th, when we have International Service Committee members Andrea Dortson-Ebert, Giselle Mendoza, and Dan Skilleter when they return from the trip to San Pedro Sula in Honduras and will update on the International Transformational Project, bringing clean water to the village. Immediately following today's meeting, the Investment Committee will be meeting in the North Cape Room. Have a great week. We are adjourned. Don't leave.